it's Cara here. Welcome back to my channel. Today I'm using this gorgeous image by Natalie May Scrapbooking, and I am using some of the supplies that I recently got when I went back to the UK. So there will be some new supplies in this little video. So I'm just applying the tissue paper with some Mod Podge. Now I prefer to use I've forgotten what it's called now. I haven't had it for so long that I've forgotten what it's called. Gel matte medium. I prefer to use some gel matte medium. However, I only went to the UK for 3 or 4 days to see a friend and could only get a few bits and bobs. So I didn't manage to get myself any gel matte medium, but I did manage to get this little tiny tube of Mod Podge. So I'm just using what I've got at the moment. So I put the Mod Podge underneath and on top of my tissue just to help seal that, because I know I am going to add some paint over the top. My kind of plan was to extend that image or those background elements out onto that double page. I did get lost a little bit along the way, but hopefully I've managed to kind of pull it back, and I'm quite happy with the page. It's not what I envisioned, but I've done it and it's in my journal and it's there to stay. So I've just added a layer of gesso over the top of the white page that's sort of either side of my image, and I've also added a little bit to the edges of that tissue paper just to kind of blend that paper in a little bit. Now I'm mixing up a colour just to sort of a tan colour. Around that woman, just where I'm painting right this second, was this sort of circle focal point, and I just wanted to make that a bit brighter on my page and add a few more in to help the sort of flow across the page. I'm just using this little rubber sort of circle thing that I have just to give me a nice circle shape rather than me getting myself some ovals. I'm not that great at circles. So yeah, I just used that to give myself an outline and then mixed up that sort of beigey colour to fill them in. So in the image there was some of green kind of, I'm going to call them splodges of paint. So I just decided to overlap with the green I had so that the green would be the same throughout the whole page, and then kind of add on. I like to do things in odd numbers, so I did, 5 circles. I've got 3 kind of splodges of the green. So I'm just going to add those around my page, and then I also see there's some like light blue, little shapes. First of all, I painted one of the shapes in and thought, no, this isn't going to work. So I again went with the splodges, just extending out what was there, and then I add one over on the left hand page to again make those in sections of 3. So as I'm doing this voiceover, it's a little bit of a cooler day in Morocco, so the paint normally dries quite quickly, and I do normally sort of use the heat tool or the hairdryer to help that heat up, but quite often when I'm drying my paint, it's already dried from the heat in Morocco. But it is a bit of a cooler day. I mean, we are only just in January, or I am when I'm videoing this, so it's still a very warm day at 23 degrees, but it's got this bit overcast and there's a little bit of wind. Now I'm using this stencil, which is just a cheapy stencil from I want to say it's like Temu or Shein or somewhere like that. I bought just a pack of background stencils because I had only brought with me to Morocco some kind of more focalized, so more with just focal points in them stencils. And the background stencils that I did have, I don't get bored of my stencils as such, but I feel like then I'm kind of, every page background is looking the same-ish because of the stencils. So anyway, this is a new one. It came in this 6x6 size, and I've got a 12x12 one. So again, there were some sort of browny, reddy circles in the background. So I've used this kind of coffee cup stain paint splatter stencil to add a few more of those on, and again extend those across the page. I believe I've done them in 5 sections. Then there were these big brown circles, or solid brown circles should I say. So I covered them up on the right hand page with my own brown circles, and then added a few more just using the lid of an old tube of paint or something it is. I didn't really like how they turned out, and I do try to fix them later and you'll see me make a bit of a mess, but they turn out okay in the end. Now, because I've got that orangey colour that I mixed up, I'm using that to give a little bit of splatter to the page. I do love a bit of splatter, and sometimes doing it in colour just makes that difference rather than just doing it in black or white. So yeah, as you can see, just drying through those layers just so that I can add more on top. This is a Tim Holtz stencil. I'm just going to take some of that green back a little bit. It was a little bit too bright for my liking. So I just do a little bit of white stenciling, very, very pale. You know, don't put too much paint on your sponge. Just, you know, the paint's barely there. But it just helps knock that green back a little bit, as you can see. I'm fishing in my pencil case or something, but I'm not really sure what. Ah, yes, my Stabilo All Pencil. I tried to bring the hair out a little, and I really, really liked what I did. Later on, when I tried to fix those brown dots, you'll see I messed this up. And then, yeah, as I said, I like the way it turned out in the end, but I really, really like the hair at this stage and wish I hadn't have tried to sort those brown dots out, really. Just adding the whites into the eyes. If I've got a figure on my page, I tend to re-whiten the eyes to make those pop. And then I decided she was going to have green eyes. So I got my Prismacolor pencils out and added the green in the eyes and just a touch of pink to her lips. So that was kind of my girl. The other thing I didn't really like about this image was that flower in her hair. And all the time I'm doing this page, I'm kind of sitting thinking, you know, what am I going to do with that flower? Later on, I try and replicate it, mess that up, and you'll see me cover it up. But for now, I'm just using a text background stamp. Again, just from, I think these were a pack from Amazon. They may have been one of the Temu or Sheins, but I think my stamps all came from an Amazon pack. It's just a text sort of scribbly stamp, so you can't really read what's on it, but it just gives you a bit of text in the background, and I do love a bit of text. And now there was one on it with some little dots, which I'm just also adding into those places where I've stamped the text onto. Then I've got this sort of really nice grungy crossed hatched pattern. Now I put it onto my stamping block, but then quickly realised that I really didn't want it, you know, sort of dead square like it was coming out. So I took it off the block and it stamped much better, more of a kind of natural stamp with no harsh edges. And again, I just add that all around my page. And then the same with this stamp. It's like a weathered plank of wood, I'm going to call it, but it's just in that same background stamp set that I got. It had about 10 stamps in it, I'm going to say. If I can find the link, I will add it. Right, here I am trying to fix the stark brownness of those dots. I didn't like it, and then I rubbed it off with my baby wipe, and then thought that it might look good. Where I rubbed it off, the brown paint kind of leaked around, and I thought that would look good. It didn't, so I wiped that off as well. But where I wiped it off on the hair, because I'd used a Stabilo All Pencil, obviously that activated that. So the hair became very smudged and dark, and I didn't really like that. So I grabbed out my Uniball pen and redid some of those lines, and then went in again with my Stabilo All Pencil. And as you can see, it doesn't look too bad, but it doesn't look as good as it did at the beginning when I first did that hair. So now I'm trying to figure out what to do with this flower. I've got these little flower stamps, and I thought I could perhaps stamp it over that flower and it would look okay. When I done it, I hated it. And also the flower was not really within the same kind of tone. Then I decided perhaps if I use my my Uniball black pen, I could fix it. I didn't like that either. So here I am drying it off so that I can paint over the top. So what I'm going to do now is try and fix it by repainting over the tan colour that I used for the circles, and this does fix it. So my mistake here was realising that I hadn't painted the girl's neck in, so I painted that in and then realised actually now her neck has been hidden and I need to get rid of that. At the same time, I added some brown streaks to her hair because I wasn't really liking the darkness that came from the Stabilo. So now her hair has got some sort of brown streaks in it. As I said, I quickly realised that I didn't like what was going on now with her neck. Before, when the circle was there, it was much better. I decided what I'm going to do is try and make up a skin colour and repaint the neck. And then also I'd realised I would have to paint the face. So here's me doing that, and again, I didn't like it. I did paint the face and then decided, nope, I don't like it. The neck still just looks funny. So here I am wiping all that paint off, and this is what's good about having the Mod Podge over the top of your image. I've now managed to wipe away most of that paint, and I like now how it looks. It's got a slight tinge of painted look to it, but also you can still see some of that underpaper that was there. I didn't repaint the circle in under her neck because I think that was what was making it look off for me. So I leave that as it is, and I think she looks much better now with that sort of whitish or off-white colour on her neck. This is a new stencil. It's Dina Wakley. I forget what it's called now because it's brand new. But I will pop that in the description below, the name of that stencil. It's from her newest release. But as you can see, I had a bit too much paint on my sponge. I think it's because the sponge is new as well. So I just re-stenciled it through until I got the 2 lines that I needed without bleed through. With stenciling, especially when you're doing letters, less is more on the sponge. Learn from my mistake. Don't overload your sponge. And if you do, dab some of it off first. I quite often do that. But I've got a little space here to work on, and I didn't leave myself any space for extra wipe it off paper as I normally do. So I found it quite hard to have it anywhere to stamp that, sponge that off. So yeah, do that. And learn from my mistakes, and then you won't have to stencil it out. I think it was 3 or 4 times what I did. Anyway, I've cut those out and popped them onto my page, and then I put a bit of Stabilo All Pencil around the edge, and I have dampened that just using my finger on a wet wipe because it gives it a nice smudgy look, but it's not too wet. I then do exactly the same around the edge of my page, just with Stabilo All Pencil, and then grab a wet wipe, as you can see, and use my finger to smudge that round. And I believe that is the end. I'll leave you with some close-ups, and thank you again for watching and coming back to my channel. Please like and subscribe, hit that bell. It really does help get me seen. Share my videos if you think someone would like them. And yeah, here's a few close-ups. Thanks very much. I hope you're having a great January, and I'll see you next time.